Hey guys, my name is Scoby and welcome back to another video. In today's video I'm going to be showing you how to play Gamecube games on your Xbox Series S or your Xbox Series X. This is going to be a nice quick and easy tutorial. I'm going to be showing you step by step how to do everything. Let's jump right into this. So I will mention for this video you are going to need to have both dev mode and Retroarch already set up and installed on your Xbox Series S or your Xbox Series X. That's not something I'm going to be showing you in today's video, although I will be leaving a card on screen to my previous video where I show you step by step how to do that. You can finish up watching that first, then come back here and we're going to be continuing from this point. I will mention for this video we're going to be using the most up-to-date version of Retroarch and dev mode as of November 2021, and for this method we're no longer going to be using my files explorer. Instead we're going to be following this completely using a mapped network drive earned by accessing this via our computer. If you followed my most up-to-date Retroarch install video you will already have this done, otherwise I'll be showing you the next steps at this next, and we can set all that up then. Now I will mention for this map network drive, if you have already watched my most up-to-date video of setting up Retroarch, I did show how to do that there. Although if you didn't set that up previously, I will be showing it step by step. You can feel free to skip this step and just jump over to transferring files over. So the first thing again we need to do is open up our Xbox device portal. This of course can be found on the dashboard of our dev mode. You can find this access portal and we're going to need to open this up in any browser that you want. From this point what we're going to be doing is coming to our left bar right here. We're going to be clicking on File Explorer, and this is going to open up the File Explorer section. Once we're here, we're going to be coming to the top right, and we're going to be clicking on this Browse option right here. This is going to open up a pop-up that's going to allow us to access remotely some files on our Xbox and access the internal storage on our Xbox. So to do this, what we need to do is copy this URL here at the very top. We can highlight it, we can right click, and we can click copy. And we're going to be opening up a File Explorer on our Windows. We're going to be clicking on the URL path right here. We're going to be pasting in the URL that we just got, and we're going to be clicking enter to enter here. Now, if this is your first time doing this, it may ask you for a username and password. All of this information is also stored here, so you can simply copy all of this for your username and password. Now, this can get a little bit annoying as every time you want to get back here, you will need to manually enter this URL, you'll need to manually enter the password, and you'll need to manually enter the username. So instead what we're going to be doing is two things. The first thing we're going to be doing is opening up our command prompt, and we're going to be automatically saving this password and username, so we no longer have to enter it manually again. To do this again, we're going to be opening up our web browser, and we're going to be copying this CMD key here at the bottom. Simply going to highlight it, we're going to right click, and we're going to be clicking copy. From this point, we're going to be opening up CMD in Windows. To do this, we're going to be coming down to the bottom left. We're going to be clicking on our search bar, and we're going to be searching for CMD, and we're going to be looking for the command prompt right here. We're going to left click to open this up, and our command prompt should open. Once this is open, all we need to do is right click here. It will automatically paste everything we have. We simply click enter, and then we should get this result here, credential added successfully. And that basically attaches this username and password to our Windows, so it'll automatically remember it every time. From this point, we have made it a lot easier. However, now from this point, you still need to know this URL every time you want to actually access the remote files. So what we're going to be doing is one extra step. This is optional, but we're going to be setting up a mapped network drive, so it'll actually be saved in our Windows so we can easily get back here whenever we want. What we're going to be doing again is copying this file path. We're going to be opening up another file browser in Windows, and we're going to be clicking on this PC right here. And then here at the very top, we should have this option, Map Network Drive. We can left click to open this. And here we're going to be able to enter a new drive that will automatically store this location. And since we've already saved the username and password in Windows, it means we'll really easily be able to access back here whenever we want. So the first thing you need to do is assign a drive letter, so you can choose whatever you want here. So I've already done this to my Z drive, but you can attach it to another drive, for example Y, or any other available letter here in your Windows. We can then enter our folder location. So here you can just Control V again to paste in the folder location that you've set up previously. You can then enable automatic reconnect and sign in. I'm going to be disabling this, but you can feel free to enable this, and you can connect using different credentials, although we're not going to be doing that in today's video. Once you're happy with everything here, we can click finish, and then you will have a new mapped network drive that will show up here like this. It'll mention development files, it will then show the URL to your Xbox, and now clicking this will open this up very easily, so we no longer have to locate back here manually. From this point, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be opening up the Windows Apps folder, and here we should see all the currently installed apps on our Xbox. So at the top here we have my Files Explorer. Underneath this then I have two folders named Platinum Fox, and they have Retroarch mentioned in the title. This is my Retroarch folder, although depending on the version you're using it may be named slightly different, but there will be two folders here. Previously this folder started with 1E4C, although this can depend widely depending on the version you're using and depending on if it's a nightly or not, so I really don't know what to expect here. But you're going to be looking for some folder named Retroarch or something like 1E4C.
Once you've located this folder, we're going to be looking for the second one on the list. It'll typically be a much larger folder. As you can see, this is around 1.4 gigabytes and the other one is around 3.5 kilobytes. We're going to be opening up this second folder, and here we should see all of our default installed Retroarch content. What we're going to be doing from this point is creating a new folder here that's going to store our BIOS files, or a brand new system folder, or creating a brand new system BIOS folder so we can access and transfer all the BIOS files we need for our emulators over here, or for today's video specifically the GBA emulator. What we need to do is right click here. We're going to be creating a new folder, and I'm going to be naming it system. And this is going to be our new system or BIOS folder for Retroarch. After this, we're going to be heading over to Retroarch and we're going to be manually mapping this so Retroarch knows to point here instead. While we're here, we can also add a couple of extra folders. We can add a saves folder, we can add a save state folder, we can add a config folder, and we can even add a games folder. Here you can pick and choose all of the different files that you will access regularly from Retroarch, and we can remap them so Retroarch will look here instead of on the internal Xbox storage that we cannot actually access any other way. Doing this method, we will easily be able to access this. We can make backups, we can make copies. So this is definitely a method I'd recommend doing it. But for today's video, the only one that is necessary is creating a system folder, although you can feel free to make any of the other folders here as well that you like, but it is totally optional. From this point, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be launching Retroarch from here, and we're going to be brought up to our Retroarch UI. From here, we're going to be coming to the left, we're going to be coming to settings, and now we're going to be scrolling down until we see directory. And here we can see the directory for all the different assets inside Retroarch. So the first thing we're going to be looking for is the BIOS and system file, as you can see right here. We're going to be clicking the A button to open this up. Once this opens up, we're going to be scrolling down until we see the S drive. We're going to be clicking the A button. We're going to be scrolling down to program files. We're going to be coming to Windows apps, and then we're going to be looking for our Retroarch folder, the same one that we've seen on our computer. So for me, it's Platinum Fox. I'm going to be looking for the second folder, and here I'm going to be looking for my system folder. I'm going to be clicking use this directory, and now what we've done is we have remapped this directory to our system folder on our mapped network drive. So Retroarch will now search there for our BIOS files instead of the default location. So from this point, you can feel free to update any of the other files you want. I'm going to be doing my config file, my save file, and a couple of the other ones. From this point, once you have everything mapped, we're simply going to be clicking the B button to come back out of here. We're then going to be coming to our main menu, and we're going to be coming to our configuration file, and we're going to be saving our current config, just so all of these extra changes are in Retroarch.
Once you have your drive fully mapped, what we're going to be doing is coming to our system folder. We're going to be adding some extra files here specifically for our Gamecube core or our Dolphin core in Retroarch, so we can actually have everything set up here directly. So next we're going to need to do is open up our web browser, and we're going to be coming to this link, and this is going to be for the Dolphin download websites, and this is going to be for the Dolphin emulator. From this point, we're going to be coming here. We're going to be coming to our menu button here at the top. We're going to be clicking on download, and we're going to be downloading the latest development version here, whatever the latest one is at the time of recording. So for me, it's this one right here. We're simply going to be left clicking on the Windows x86 file. We're going to be letting that download, and then we're going to move it to a location where you can find it easily. So I currently have my Dolphin download file here in a .7-zip file. So that means for this, we're either going to need WinRAR or 7-zip to actually extract the contents of this. I've leaving both of these linked in the description down below. For today's video, I'm going to be using 7-zip. To extract the file, all we need to do is right click. We're going to be hovering over 7-zip. We're going to be clicking extract here, and this is going to download all of the Dolphin assets out of this folder. From this point, we're going to be looking for the folder that we just extracted, dolphin-x64. We're going to be double clicking in here, and we're going to be looking specifically for the system folder. From this point, we're going to be copying this folder by left clicking, clicking on copy, and just like that, we have copied the folder. We're going to be backing out of here, and we're going to be creating a new folder named exactly like this, dolphin-emu. So we need a brand new folder like this. We're going to be coming in here, and we're going to be pasting the system folder that we just downloaded. So we can simply come here, right click, click paste, and we'll paste the system folder that we just took from Dolphin into this new dolphin-emu folder. From this point, we're going to be taking this entire new dolphin-emu folder that we just created. We're going to be transferring it over to the system folder on our Xbox so we can have everything there. We're going to let that transfer, and that's going to be all the system BIOS files we will need for Retroarch. So once we have this downloaded, we're ready to talk about games, and I currently have one game right here, Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness. I will also mention from this point, I'm not going to be showing you where to download games. To get your games, you can feel free to download them online or create a backup or dump of your existing games, whichever is easier for you. Again, I won't be showing that either. If you download your games like me, they will most likely again come in a .7-zip file. Again, we'll have to extract this for Retroarch. To right click, come to 7-zip and extract the files. Once your file is extracted, we're going to be looking specifically for a .iso format file here, or a disk image format, and that's exactly what we're looking for in Retroarch. Once you have your games downloaded and extracted into a .iso format, we have two ways of bringing them over to Retroarch. One is bring them to the internal storage folder on our Xbox, either in the games folder or anywhere else inside here, wherever you want. The second option is going to be bringing them over to an external drive and playing them from there. Now, depending on your drive and depending on your Xbox, you might just have way more luck and success playing them from the internal storage, so you might need to experiment around a little bit here. For me personally, I have no issues running them from an external drive, so that's what I'm going to be continuing to do. If you are using an external drive, make sure it's a USB 3.0 drive, so you'll have no issues with loading speeds and it won't take too long to load, and they're the main things to keep in mind. From this point, you can transfer all of your games to wherever you want. We're going to be heading back over to our Xbox, and we're going to be continuing from there.
So now that we're over on our Xbox, I will mention if you are using an external drive like me, you might get this pop-up on screen when you first connect it to your Xbox. If this is your first time plugging in your drive, you might get this pop-up asking if you'd like to use it for Xbox game storage or media storage. It's really important here that you select media storage so we can add whatever files we want on here. Otherwise, if you select game storage, it will fully wipe your drive and only allow you to install Xbox games on this. So it's important that you make sure this is entered correctly. However, some people have had issue with Retroarch and with the latest version of dev mode. I would make sure your drive is formatted in an exFAT format. I've read this can help with some issues. So inside Windows, all you need to do is right click your drive. You can click Format. And during the formatting process, just make sure to select exFAT like you can see on screen. And hopefully doing this should make your drive readable and having no issues inside Retroarch. But this is something to keep in mind.
Once Retroarch is launched, what we're going to be doing is coming to our menu on the left. We're going to be clicking on Settings. We're going to be coming to Drivers. We're going to be looking for video, and we're going to make sure we're set to either D3D11 or D3D12. Now for today's video, I'm going to be using D3D12, but if you are having any issues loading any specific Gamecube games, setting it to D3D11 or D3D12 to play back and forth to see what works best for you, but mostly either of these should work, but D3D12 should be the better choice. Once you have this set, we're going to be clicking the B button. We're going to be coming back to our main menu. We're going to be coming to configuration file, and we're going to be saving this as a new configuration file. So by default, when you load up Retroarch, you will not actually go to this configuration file with the new video driver set up. Instead, you will have to come to load configuration and load the newly created configuration file that you just made, which for me is right here. So you can always come back to that specifically, but by default, it won't actually load up this file. So you might have to come in here and set that up. From this point, we're then going to come to the load core option here at the very top, and we're going to be scrolling down until we see Nintendo. And we're going to be looking for Nintendo-Gamecube/Wii and in brackets Dolphin. We're going to be clicking the A button to select this, and now we have our Dolphin core selected. From this point, we're going to be coming down one to load content, and here we're going to have to locate to where our games are. So if you're loading them from an external drive, they will be inside the E folder here, or if you're loading them from the internal storage on your Xbox, they will be inside the S storage here, inside program files, in Windows apps, and then here you simply need to locate to your Retroarch folder, and then locate to wherever your games are set up. As mentioned for me in today's video, I'm going to be locating them to my internal drive, and I'm going to be continuing from there. Once you found your game in a .iso format, we're simply going to be clicking the A button to select this. Again, if you have multiple cores that can read this file type, for me that I already have this, we're simply going to be clicking the A button to open this up, and our game is going to start to load. From this point, your game should load up, and just like that, you should be playing Gamecube games. From this point, we're going to be clicking our menu combination. For me, it's down and select, but you can click whatever you had set up previously. We're going to be scrolling down here until we see the options menu right here. We're going to be clicking the A button to open this up. And here we're going to have some core specific options for our Gamecube. I'm not going to be talking about each of the options here, but I'm going to be going through a couple of the main ones. The first one is the EFB scale. And here we can set the internal resolution of what we're going to be playing back. So 1x is 640 by 528, and that's the default resolution here. You can feel free to play with different scaling, but this can impact performance quite dramatically. So feel free to take a look at this. It can mess with your performance a little bit, so feel free to see exactly what level you want here best. We have a couple of Wiimote IR settings. We're going to be skipping most of these. We have our CPU clock rate. Depending on the game you're playing, you can try set it to a higher rate, although this can affect your games in a quite dramatic way and make them run faster than they were originally intended, but you can feel free to experiment with this depending on the game you're trying to do. You can try experimenting with the renderer. You can change it from hardware, software, or null. Depending on the game you're trying to play, you can feel free to see if this fixes anything here as well. We can change the language here, which is a nice option. By default, it should auto pick whatever language you have, but if you need to change it manually, you can do that here as well. We can set widescreen and a widescreen hack. Again, leaving both of these on will be a good option. Widescreen hack can stretch some content, so that's something to keep in mind. Progressive scan and PAL 60, I'd recommend leaving both of these on. By default, they are on, but it's another good thing to keep an eye on. Most of these other options I wouldn't really recommend experimenting with too much, but if you want to play around with them, you can feel free to do that. Some of these options will require a restart. Sadly, it doesn't mention which ones exactly, but I will just say if you make any changes, just expect to make a restart for them to come into an effect on your core, and that's just something else to keep in mind. The last thing I'd recommend doing is creating a game playlist, especially if you're going to be using a lot of different cores and a lot of different consoles. It's basically going to concatenate all of your games from a specific console into one location and make it really easy to run and load these games. I'm not going to be showing you that in today's video, although I will be leaving a card on screen to my previous video where I show you step by step how to do that. I also want to take this moment to give a huge shout out to the channel members, Sean Daly and Joshua Davis. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate the support. If you'd like to have your name shout out in future videos or some other perks, be sure to click the join button on any video on the channel. It would really help me out and I'd greatly appreciate it. Anyway guys, it's as easy as that to play Gamecube games on your Xbox Series S or your Xbox Series X. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to drop a like. Subscribe if you're new, check out the other videos on the channel. If you want to support me, drop a super thanks in this video, it'd really help me out. Anyway guys, thank you so much for watching. Until next time, as always, keep it saucy. Peace.